Alright, what's up? It's here, and of course, welcome back to the channel. In fact, welcome to my first Infinite Warfare video, and I want to say about a month or so, something like that. It's been quite a while. Obviously, I don't play this game very often. I'm very confident that most of you are very aware of that, but there are some very interesting variants in this game. So with that being said, in today's video, I'm going to share with you my pick for the top 10 most interesting epic variants in Infinite Warfare. Now, first off, little heads up, these are definitely not the most overpowered variants in the game. Not in any way, shape, or form, because the variants that I'm actually interested in are the ones that offer something unique, something the other variants for starters don't offer, and obviously something the base weapon doesn't offer either. So with that being said, be sure to let me know in the comments down below what epic variant you're looking forward to using. Whether of course it's the Ripper, the K-Bar Infactive, the NV4 Flatline, or literally anything else. Anyway, with that being said, at the number 10 spot we have the Type 2 Butcher. Now for starters, just like most epic variants, this one has 2 proficiencies. Now to be fair, right? They were called proficiencies back in the day on Modern Warfare 3, so that's what I'm going to roll with. To be fair, I'm not too sure what they're called. Maybe they're traits. Lord knows. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so for starters, we have 87. Alternate mode now fires as Akimbo Shotguns. And of course, also readiness. Reload faster when the mag is empty. Stacks with dexterity. Now, to be fair, the second one doesn't interest me in any way, shape, or form. That's pretty standard. Plus, I reload after every single kill, so obviously, that's not going to matter to me whatsoever. But firing Akimbo Shotguns is definitely something that is pretty interesting. Now, to be fair, I've already seen some gameplay using this weapon, which is actually the reason why it's at the number 10 spot. The Akimbo Shotguns aren't too strong. Obviously, up close and personal, they could definitely tear your opponents to shreds. But at a distance, even medium range, they're absolutely useless. I don't know how many of you actually played the Infinite Warfare campaign. For those that haven't just yet, definitely be sure to do so. It's actually not too bad. But basically, within the campaign, the E-Rod also has an alternate firing mode. And that too is a shotgun, and quite frankly, I feel like the firepower is pretty similar, meaning that even up close and personal, it still takes 2 shots. But considering they're Akimbo Shotguns in this case, you can fire them simultaneously, of course resulting in an instant kill. Now, at the number 9 spot, we have a weapon that I personally don't really fancy using, just because I'm not a huge fan of using sniper rifles in the recent Call of Duty titles, simply because I kind of struggle to keep up, alright? I'm getting a little too old for this. Basically, I really like sniping in Call of Duty 4, MW2, Black Ops 2, you name it. But nowadays, with everybody just jumping around and floating around, it's not really my cup of tea. But I figured I would put this one on here simply because I reckon a lot of you definitely want to give this one a shot. Simply because it's essentially the PO6 from Black Ops 3. And that's of course the epic ERB 800 bomber. For starters, you get the Triad trait, a charged 3-shot sniper burst, and then on top of that, also presence of the mines. Now the cool thing about this one is that the second trait actually isn't half that bad. In this case, it can be pretty useful, especially for those of us that just like to sit back and wait. Because this one basically allows you to hold your breath for an infinite amount of time. Of course, that makes no sense whatsoever, but like I said, it can definitely be pretty useful. Now of course, the P06 is obviously not the best sniper rifle in Black Ops 3, but it's a nice breath of fresh air every now and then, something completely different. And then on top of that, those that manage to master this weapon could definitely do quite a bit of damage with it. Now, at the number 8 spot, we have the Big Brother variant of the KBS Longbow. Now, of course, I'm fully aware of the fact that this is once again a sniper rifle, but this time around, I kind of want to try it out for myself as well. Not too sure if I'll ever spend 4,000 salvage on it, but if I manage to get my hands on it, I'll definitely give it a shot. Basically, one of the biggest annoyances that I come across when using sniper rifles is the fact that you lose your minimap the moment you zoom in, and that, of course, takes away a lot of your awareness, especially for a player like me, who at all times focuses on the minimap. That's a really big deal. And in this case, you get the awareness trait, which basically makes sure that the minimap stays active whilst you're aiming down the sights, which is obviously more than I could personally ask for. Of course, it's going to make sure that you don't get shot in the back as often, just because you at all times can keep track of that, and it also makes sure you're not as vulnerable in close quarter situations, because again, you know what's going on around you. And then on top of that, we also have a pretty useless trait. Then again, that seems to be the trend over here, and that's the stockpile trait, which basically allows you to start out with a bit of extra ammo. To be fair though, I rarely go on solid streaks with sniper rifles, so I strongly doubt I'll be needing this, but maybe one day it'll come in handy. Now, at the number 7 spot, we have a very interesting one, or at least one that definitely interests me, and one that I definitely plan on unlocking as well, and that's the Oni Kaiken, something like that. Simply correct me if I'm wrong, frankly, I have no clue how to pronounce this, but of course, by default, the Oni is a fully automatic pea shooter, a secondary for those that don't know. And this one right here is basically a buffed up version of the RW1 from Advanced Warfare. And for those of you that played that game, you will know that up close and personal, that thing was an absolute beast. Now, for starters, the overcharge trait basically turns this weapon from a fully automatic pea shooter into a pistol that fires one charged bullet at a time. Now keep two things in mind. First off, make sure you use dexterity, because of course after every single bullet that you fire, you do have to reload your weapon, which can be a little bit tedious, but that should definitely help you out quite a bit. And then on top of that, there's actually a bit of a delay between pulling the trigger and the weapon actually firing a shot. Then again, I want to say it's about a 1/10 of a second, so in most situations it shouldn't matter all that much, unless of course you're up against a shotgun. And then on top of that, you also have the focus trait, which is definitely pretty useful. This one basically reduces idle sway whilst aiming down the sights, allowing you to secure those one-shot kills at medium range, but also at long range, something you couldn't do with the RW1. Now, at the number 6 spot, we have the Sentinel version, of course, of the Mauler light machine gun. Now, quick little heads up, the Mauler is going to pop up again in a little bit, so be warned. Anyway, so this one right here was added to the game, I want to say, a couple of weeks ago. Not too sure about it. So far, I've only seen OG X-Rays use it in-game, but this is one of those variants that seemed interesting to me from the get-go. Now, of course, technically speaking, this right here is a 5-burst LMG, which of course sounds insanely overpowered. But in this case, instead of firing 5 deadly accurate bullets, it actually fires a vertical column of bullets. Now, at close range, it's unfortunately not too impressive just because the hipfire spread is pretty significant, making it very unlikely for you to hit more than 1 or 2 bullets. And in that case, you're going to get outmatched by SMGs due to reduced fire rates. The range at which this one shines is actually medium range, and that's because whilst aiming down the sights, of course, the spread gets reduced by quite a bit, making it possible for you to secure those instant kills, which is definitely pretty cool. And then again, at longer ranges, it's really not that viable, just because you're going to miss most of your shots. Now, of course, that definitely makes this one a bit of a niche weapon, but it just seems interesting to me. I kind of want to try it out before spending 4,000 salvage on it, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Anyway, so next up, at the number 5 spot, we have the Vocalize, a weapon that quite a few people have talked about in the past, and a weapon that quite a few people definitely want to get their hands on as well, including myself. Now, for starters, for those that don't know, the first trait is, of course, the Spike trait, which basically turns this weapon into a semi-automatic assault rifle, deals increased damage, but fires 1 bullet at a time. So basically, at close to medium range, this will be a 2-shot kill, and at long ranges, it's a 3-shot kill, just like most assault rifles. But of course, due to reduced fire rates, instead of shining at medium to long range, this weapon now shines at close to medium range, which is definitely a nice change of pace. And then on top of that, you also get the focus trait, which, like I said before, basically means reduced idle sway whilst aiming down the sights, which, to be fair, is only really going to help you at those longer ranges. And quite frankly, you're going to need it. Now, the reason I really want to try out this weapon is because the M1 Garand at this point in time has just been a huge disappointment. I actually unlocked that one when I hit Prestige 3. And quite frankly, I kind of regret not unlocking the Ass Ravage, the Spas 12 of course, or the Intervention, which in this case is called the TF-151. Simply correct me if I'm wrong, not entirely sure about that one, but I think that's it. But basically, the M1 Garand has been a huge letdown, and I'm kind of hoping that the Vocalize is more like the FEL from Black Ops 2, and more like the Shiva from Black Ops 3, something along those lines. Now, at the number 4 spot, we have the Mammoth, of course another epic variant of the Mauler light machine gun. Now, for starters, we have the Heavy Hitter trait, which of course means double damage, but a slower fire rate. And then on top of that, also Sharpshooter, which means increased damage range. And this one apparently stacks with the Rifled Barrel. Then again, I've never tried out Rifled Barrel on this LMG just because I personally feel like it works best at close to medium range. Anyway, with that being said, this right here is essentially the Gorgon from Black Ops 3. Now, to be fair, I cannot stand the Gorgon in Black Ops 3, alright? Its handling traits are beyond bad. It's too damn slow to really run around with. But of course, in Infinite Warfare, you can fix that by using the Merc's Man-at-Arms trait, which essentially turns an LMG into an assault rifle, or at least mobility-wise. So that being said, this one allows you to move faster around the map, but it also allows you to simply zoom in faster, of course allowing you to get those 2 bullets on target at a much quicker pace. So that being said, this right here is what the Gorgon should have been. Anyway, next up, at the number 3 spot, we have the Rec 9 Smoothbore, which is essentially the Argus from Black Ops 3, or of course the KSG from MW3, whichever one of the two you prefer. Now, the first trait over here is called Slug, which of course makes sure that you fire 1 single powerful shot, instead of a multitude of different little pellets. And then on top of that, we also have the focus trait once again, which of course equals reduced idle sway, whilst aiming down the sights, which in this case is actually pretty damn useful, because this one right here is going to allow you to secure those 1-shot kills at medium range, but also at longer ranges. For those that don't know, the 1-shot kill range of this weapon is roughly 45 to 50 meters. And for an example, the Argus's 1-shot kill range was, I think, about 70 meters, 18 meters, something like that. Not nearly as far as this one, but what you have to remember when using the Smoothbore is that you always have to aim for the chest. For an example, if you hit someone in the arm or in the leg at medium range, you won't drop them instantly. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of practice, but those of you that manage to master this weapon can deal a heck of a lot of damage, and that right there is the main reason I too want to get my hands on this one. Alright, next up, number 2, the E-Rod Cyclopean or Cyclopean. Gonna casually assume it's Cyclopean though, just because that makes way more sense to me. This one right here is essentially the one variant every single person out there that loves Advanced Warfare should definitely get their hands on. For starters, we have the Particle Beam trait, which basically means that this weapon releases a concentrated beam of energy, aka it's a laser weapon. And then on top of that, we also have Focus, which in this case isn't going to help you out too much. Obviously, reduced idle sway whilst aiming down the sights isn't too great for a weapon that works best at close range, and in that case you might as well spray and pray. Now, to be fair, the stats for this weapon are all over the place. This variant completely changes the way this one works. For starters, it increases the accuracy whilst aiming down the sights, of course decreases the damage by quite a bit, also decreases the range by quite a bit, but then opposed to that, the fire rate is increased by quite a lot, obviously making this one super powerful at point blank range. And to be fair, I would recommend you to stick to close range engagements as well. I actually saw some gameplay of this weapon on YouTube, and quite frankly, you don't want to challenge people at medium to long range. You honestly don't stand a chance against assault rifles, LMGs, and so on and so forth. But this weapon right here is completely different from anything else that is in the game. So because of that, I figured, you know what, a number 2 spot is definitely well deserved. And then finally, at the number 1 spot, now to be fair, a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this one, just because I don't think this one is too sought after, but it's actually the R3K Rect. Now for starters, this one comes with the Breakpoint trait. This weapon fires as fully automatic with reduced recoil, and also the Stockpile trait, which like I said before, isn't too useful. This basically allows you to start out with a bit more ammunition. For me personally, I always rock Scavenger on my assault rifle classes, so this one is most definitely not going to help me out. But as all of you know, the R3K by default is actually a burst weapon. In fact, it's a burst weapon that shines at close to medium range. However, the Rect actually shines at medium to long range due to that reduced recoil, again making this a completely different experience from the standard R3K. And the reason I put this one all the way at the top of my list is because I've wanted this variant since day 2, basically ever since I knew of its existence. Anyway, with that being said, be sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think of today's list. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, some support, a like rating would be very much appreciated. If not, that's cool. If there's a certain topic you'd like me to cover in a future video, then once again, definitely let me know. In this case, I'd say, you know what, hit me up on Twitter. That's probably the way to go in the first place. And apart from that, if you want to, you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Of course, all those things are down below in the description. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy.